My name is Sangeetha Param. I'm 29 years old from Bangalore, India. And today I'm going to be sharing my story with you. I am a survivor of with mental health issues. Like, I'm a survivor. I don't call myself a patient. I have bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder, and I was diagnosed in November 2014. And it's been a long 10-year journey with lots of ups and downs and lots of stories, lots of lessons, lots of mistakes, lot of successes, lots of failures. So over 10 years of lot of things. And I'm also an author, and I've published 2 books called Key to Acceptance and Echoes in My Attic. And I also give talks. I'm a motivation speaker. I do mental health advocacy, sharing my story. I've given 3 TED Talks, and I have represented India in 6 international conversations. And I guess that's about it for now. I'm hoping that this would increase more eventually as time goes by, keeping my fingers crossed.
Of course. Wow. That's so much to sort of just absorb. I think you've had quite a journey, and thank you for being so honest with us about it as well. And congratulations on your book. We would love to share the link of it in the video as well for our viewers to see it later.
Yeah.
Okay, so like what motivated you to share your story with us today, Sangeetha?
So actually, my dad's a cancer survivor, and he's a survivor too. So we're a family of survivors, and he gives talks to cancer patients, cancer caregivers, and I usually go with him. I'm his right hand, so I usually go with him. And every time he gives a talk, and there are patients there and caregivers looking at him, they come in with a lot of questions. They come in very lost that, oh my God, cancer, why me? You know, the why me question is so so triggering for a lot of people. And every time he talks, and after the talk is done, I can see a little bit of hope in their eyes. And I've heard people say that, like, tomorrow I can be a person who's standing on stage and sharing their story, as my dad. So when I used to see that little bit of hope in the patients as well as their caregivers' eyes, I thought, why don't I talk about my journey on mental health? When I attempted suicide was when I realized I need to seek help. And there is so much more to it rather than just, I don't know what's going on, I'm having so much pain, I just want to self-harm. All these things, there's a lot of background to a lot of these things. And that is the reason I decided to start talking about myself so that I will be able to help somebody.
So there were a couple of things related to mental health challenges that you mentioned. When did they start happening in your life? And like, what were the instances which made it hard for you?
I feel that I've been having difficulties from a very long time, like from when I was a kid, but I never really knew. I didn't know like what they are or what they were. It could be something very small as, like, I was just looking through my photo albums, like my children ka photo albums, and I was seeing my sister and my picture, and there's so much life in my sister. There's so much innocence in her pictures. Well, I just stood at the camera and I just smiled. Like, I just didn't even show my teeth. It's been, I think it's only after I was diagnosed with a mental illness, I got the confidence to smile like this and not just, I got the confidence to show my teeth and smile only after I got diagnosed. So it could be something so small, something so small. And I've had a few difficulties in life, which, I mean, my dad was diagnosed with cancer when I was very young, and he had to undergo bone marrow transplant. It was the final stage. We almost lost him, but thankfully we got him back. And that was there. I was sexually assaulted. I was bullied, and I've had like a lot of setbacks. But I think that also was that gave birth to a lot of things like insecurities, addiction to self-harm, feeling of worthlessness, people pleasing, and all these things came up in the form. They were those were like the symptoms, but the root cause of all these problems had to be addressed, which I didn't know.
I'm just listening to like so much that happened with you when you were a kid, and I think things are even harder when you don't have the vocabulary to understand it, because if you don't understand it, how do you express and reach out to another person?
Correct.
So, do you have an idea how young you were when bullying or maybe stresses in the family, or or all of those things started in
So
your.
that started when I was like 5 or 6. Like the bullying was like when I was very young, like 5 or 6, and it was in my apartment, and they would never play with me, and I would be like, "Why? What's wrong with me that they're not playing with me?" And that's when the people pleasing started, where I would apologize and say, "Thank you for being my friend. I'm sorry whatever I did. I apologize for no reason. I myself didn't know why I was apologizing." So so bullying gave seed to worthlessness, people pleasing, low self esteem, loss of self respect. So all these are factors that affect because of small little traumas which you don't realize when you were young. Then my dad got diagnosed for cancer when I was 9. And my teenage years were also pretty difficult because that's when the bipolar set in. Because this is borderline personality disorder. As I told you, I have 2 diagnoses. Bipolar affects the brain. BPD affects the mind. So they're two completely different things. But at the end of the day, it is you who's getting affected. But another thing is being the elder sibling. We have the thing where we have to fix everybody, where we have to hold everyone together, to hold the family together. And I also had the thought that if I share my feelings or if I share my problems, it will create even more burden in the house, or people will get even more stressed out. They're already stressed with their work and their career, and as parents they're already having, so if I tell them my problems, it will even become more of a mess. So I always made sure that I would keep everything to myself, which didn't help, because eventually we all have a saturation point. And by the time I didn't realize that I was reaching my saturation point sooner than I expected it, because it goes out of control after a while. You don't have control over it. And it's like, so after so when I sought for help, like on the day I wanted to attempt, like I attempted, I called my father and I told him. That's when the whole, it was like a dam that just burst. There was like so many emotions coming out, so many, like I was confessing, like I'm self-harming on a daily basis. I'm addicted to self-harm. I'm in so much pain and I don't know why. When I told them that, they froze, because I expected that, because I mean, what would parents react like, that their child wants to kill themselves. So how would a parent? They froze. They didn't know what to say, but they held themselves together. They didn't break down, which is what I expected them to, that they will also collapse like me, which is what I waited for. I was thinking the same thing, but that they did freeze, but they didn't break down. They held me, they just came, they just sat with me and they just said, it's okay, you're not alone. We'll seek help. We'll, talk to more people. So they did their research. They spoke to people about it. And that's how, because of my dad's friend whose sister had a similar issue, introduced us to a psychiatrist and a psychologist who diagnosed me for bipolar and borderline personality disorder. And when I got diagnosed, that day was the biggest relief I had after so many years. On the day I got diagnosed, many people fear, oh my God, you got a diagnosis, shouldn't you be scared? I'm like, finally, I know what's going on. I know what is wrong with me. I know that there's so much more. There are people doing research on mental health. There are words that describe how I feel. It's like I found a dictionary and I understood what these words meant.
I think I will pick from where we started when you spoke about reaching out to your parents first and going to the doctor. So how old were you when you reached out to your parents?
So I was 20 at that time.
20. And you also mentioned that your mental health challenges started at the age of 5.
Yeah.
6. Okay. So from your experience from a 5-year-old Sangeetha to 20-year-old Sangeetha, the challenges that you mentioned was that there was bullying, there was people pleasing, there were probably symptoms of certain disorders that you did not understand and know of, felt quite when all of this was happening. And this was the same time when you also had thoughts of suicide, and there was active self-harm involved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not like I'm a survivor all the time, I also do need help at times. And it was difficult. I did have almost like 5-6 sessions of shock therapy to bring myself back. And today I'm okay. I'm holding on. I'm making sure that when there is a slip, I don't just fall off. I just try to hold on for a bit, and I try to do the other coping mechanisms. I ask for help, but when it goes out of control, I do not hesitate to tell that I'm going out of control, nor do I feel guilty that I'm repeating the same pattern. I don't feel that, why am I doing this over and over again? Why am I becoming a burden? I don't feel that, because I know that I can ask for help and they're not going to judge me. They're going to be there for me. And even though it's like maybe another 10 hospitalizations over the next few years, they will still stay and they will help me through all the hospitalizations. Yeah.
I think that's a very real and a very honest answer, because sometimes we paint such a inspirational and positive photo picture over somebody's story that's look, everything's all right now. But I understand, like it is a process, and it's a process where you can take like two steps back, one
Correct.
forward, and that happens. But I love what you just said, that I don't feel guilty asking for help, and I don't feel like a burden. I know that people who love me will still be there, and even when things are going overboard, I still reach out. And I that really that really shows that there is a lot of work that has gone into your own healing to have this these
Correct.
values also.
Yeah. So I think first is put yourself first. Like, your feelings matter, your interests matter, what you do also matters a lot. And everybody is judgmental. We also judge people. All of us judge people. Oh my God, what is she wearing? Or oh my God, what is he doing? Like, all of us, even when we go on the road, like we judge, like, how is he driving the car? Like that. But one person you should never be judgmental towards is yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, do not, I know it's hard. I mean, I find it hard. Like when I look at myself in this camera itself, I feel my cheeks are very fat. And that's the only thing I'm focusing on. Like I'm looking at myself, I'm like, my cheeks are so fat, I've put on so much weight. But then I am also seeing that I'm wearing new specs because my eye power reduced a bit, and now I had to change specs for it. So it's a huge success that my power has reduced. So that is what I'm trying to focus on. So yeah, it gets difficult, but I think you should also appreciate the small little things that you do, which none of us appreciate. We all date, like, oh, I'm a TED Talk, spotlight is on me, I did a TED Talk, so it's a huge success. But I don't think that is a success. I think success is that even though I was feeling so low last week, on Monday I took leave because I did not want to go to work. But on Tuesday, I'm like, okay, let me just go half day, but I made it through the day. So I'm like, yes, I made it through the day. And that is a success for me. Not getting TED Talks, not having books written. Those are successes to a different, but survival successes, what matters the most. So I think you all should make sure that you give importance to small successes and keep the child in you alive. Don't bury that kid in you, because that innocence and the happiness we used to get as small children, we can still get them even now. And successes is not by getting a huge appraisal or anything. Even small little things as children made us happy. Bring back that thing in you.
Lovely. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sangeetha, for your
No
time
problem.
and sharing your experience with us. I have learned so much from you, from your story. And right after this call, I'm going to go in the mirror and appreciate myself, because I was also looking at the mirror, at the screen, and thinking my cheeks look so fat. So and I both. And I would remind myself to appreciate and not judge ourselves. That's something we all do all the time. So I think we got really insightful, really valuable messages from you. And there's so much that we're taking away from your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was an honor to be here today. And I hope that my story reaches out and I can make a difference, at least in one person's life. That would make me, it would make me really happy.